the participants have come, I hope. All right. Good evening, everyone. Uh, and I feel privileged and feel good to be here with all the healthcare professionals from around the world. And before we go ahead with the session, let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Nadeem Ahmed, an MBBS doctor with masters in hospital and healthcare management with 12 years of experience in healthcare. I'm a certified CPHQ with fellowship in ISQA and a certified Lean Six Sigma Black Belt professional. I'm going to be the instructor for this English CPHQ preparatory course offered by Quality Leaders Academy alongside Dr. Wissam Najib, the founder CEO of Quality Leaders Academy and Quality Pioneers. She's the lead instructor for Arabic speaking CPHQ course. And the content you are going to see today, the slides and the deck, is prepared by her primarily for Arabic speaking course. We have adapted it for the English one as well. So today's session is focused on healthcare quality basics. So basics are the things we all know that make professionals great in their respective domains. And if the basics are right, only then everything that builds upon that remains intact. So we'll be talking about the definitions, the history of the quality and healthcare quality in particular, the dimensions of quality, and all those concepts which are important for your CPHQ exam. But apart from that, more importantly, we're also going to make sure that you understand why these concepts matter both for your exam as well as for your real life implementation at your workplaces. Because our ultimate aim is not just to crack the exam, but to replicate that at your workplace and implement it confidently as a CPHQ. So before we start, let me tell you that we are not going to bore ourselves with the textbook stuff, and we are not going to memorize definitions without understanding them. We are absolutely not going to rush through this session just for the sake of it. So in a way, this is a sort of disclaimer that I want to give, that I'm not going to rush through. In case if you feel that this session is long and exhausting, please let me know. I'll try to have a break in between for ease of everyone. But what I felt was it's very much important to lay the foundation, lay the basics right, so that every one of you understand the concepts and apply it both for the exam and the real life. So what are we going to do? We are going to discuss everything in a way that it connects to your actual work for easy understanding and retention of the concept as well. Got it? So what I get to know is there are people from different backgrounds, different professions from within the healthcare sector with varying degrees of experience who are there in this session. Some might be the freshers, some might be experienced ones. So hence, I'll be trying to be as simple as possible to take everyone along smoothly. So the more experienced ones, kindly bear with me if I go too simple at times, but it's absolutely essential for us to establish the concept. And that's the reason I may sometimes, go simple and try to explain few things in detail. Okay. So before we get into the core of our content for today's session, I want to show you something which is important. So the ones which you are seeing now is the exam content outline for the CPHQ. So, I hope this is not intimidating you. I'm just showing this because you all are supposed to know as to how many items or how many questions that you are going to get from different domains of NHQ or the CPHQ for this exam. Okay, so look at these 7 domains: quality, leadership and integration, performance and process improvement, population and healthcare transitions, health data analytics, patient safety, quality review and accountability, regulatory and accreditation. So that's 125 items in total. And The importance of today's session is that the foundation for all these domains are supposed to be covered. Okay, so you can't analyze health data effectively if you don't understand what exactly quality is or what quality means. You can't lead quality initiatives if you don't know the difference between what the structure or the process or an outcome is. So everything regarding the future sessions is built upon the fundamentals we are going to go through in this particular session. Okay, so the CPHQ exam has 125 scored questions plus 15 pre-test questions, and you have got a total time of 3 hours. So that's just somewhere about 1 minute per question, or just above 1 minute, or 1 minute 17 seconds to be precise, per question. But here's a good thing. If you deeply understand the fundamentals, and I really mean, if you get them properly, all these questions become so much easier for you, right? So now let me be clear about something. Today's lecture is part of the entire comprehensive program that will take you all the way through September. And look at the schedule. We have got main lectures, case discussions, and then intense revision sessions as well. But today is day one, and this is where our journey begins for this entire course. So I'm not going to read through all these dates. You have this schedule posted on the WhatsApp group earlier, and it will also be available on the LMS platform. But I want you to notice something. We just don't teach you the concepts and say goodbye. Okay, we come back to them, we practice them together, we work through all the cases, we revise them multiple times, because the secret for success of CPHQ exam is repetition with understanding beats cramming every single time. So there's no need to memorize, no need to cram. Try to understand, try to apply, revise and repeat, and everything becomes easier for you. Okay, so in a way, like, this is a tentative schedule, and I'm working with Dr. Wissam to make slight changes into this particular one. So hopefully the final one will be posted as well, right? So right here, what you are seeing on your screen is a real CPHQ unofficial score report. Okay, for international candidates outside the USA, there's a gap of almost about a month or two after the exam window closes for this particular score to arrive. Let me tell you, the beautiful thing to look at here in this particular score is the past. This is one thing which we want to see, every one of us. That's the goal. That's why we are all here, right? So like how I told earlier, it has 140 MCQs with 125 of them actually count. The remaining 15 are pre-test questions, means they are experimental questions. NHQ basically tests whether these questions are worth adding for future exams. They are just testing on real candidates. Okay, so but one thing to remember is you have absolutely no idea which questions are pre-test and which ones are scored. Okay, so they all look identical and are scattered randomly throughout the exam. So that does mean that you are supposed to treat every single question as if it matters, as if it is a scoring question. Okay, so there's no question of skimming, no guessing without thinking, and every question deserves your full attention, right? So you have, like how I told, 3 hours of time for you to complete. So that's not too much of a time. Okay, so if you really understand the concepts and you have a good sort of revision, good practice, then you'll easily get through it. So another thing is the exam tests your recall, application and analysis. Almost about 20 to 23% of questions are recall questions, means they'll test you whether you remember the basic facts and definitions or not. And 20% of them are analysis questions, means they'll test you whether you'll be able to analyze complex situations and make judgments accordingly. and almost 57% questions are application type. Means they will test your application of knowledge. They will test you whether you can apply the concepts to real-time scenarios or not. So most of the questions are application level. So they'll give you a scenario and ask you to apply quality principles. That may be implicit or explicit, right? And so in a way, like I'm repeating again, there's no need to memorize any definitions. You must understand why that particular quality concepts matter, and you should be able to apply them in a sort of real life healthcare situations. My advice is to assume or think, imagine the situations wherein that particular concept comes into play in your own workplace, so that you will be able to connect the dots and retain that particular concepts deeply as well as for the long term. Okay. So now let us look at the score. So here you see the score is 760 out of 800 and the passing score is 600 scaled score units. He's not talking about 760 marks or 760 right answers or something. He's not discussing about whether this candidate has scored what do you say 118 questions out of 125. All he's saying is the scaled score is 760. So what is the scaled scoring and why it's important for us to understand? See, the exam score is between the scale of 200 to 800, and it's not 0 to 100 or it's not 0 to 125. It's 200 to 800, and the passing score is 600 scaled score units, right? So understand this. CPHQ exam is not one set of questions, one set of 125 questions that every candidate who sits for his exam gets. I mean, like not all the candidates who are sitting for that particular in that particular window get the same set of questions. The NHQ has a large bank of questions, and different candidates appear for the exams on different dates at different test centers and in different countries as well. So each one of them may receive different versions of the same exam. So some versions may have slightly harder questions, some may have slightly easier ones. If at all NHQ simply counted raw correct questions of a particular answer, candidates who happen to get harder version would be at unfairly disadvantaged position when compared to the ones who got an easier ones. Like if you got the easier questions and I got the tougher questions, then I would have been at a sort of unfairly disadvantaged position, right? So in order to solve this problem, NHQ's fairness mechanism is there, wherein this raw score or the number of right questions out of 125 scored questions goes through some statistical conversion process called equating, and this adjusts the raw score to the number between 200 to 800. Means few questions may be scored more and few may be less or something like that. But the important thing to remember is 600 is the passing mark, whether regardless of whether which version of exam you have got. So whether it was easier or harder, that's 600 is the universal standard for competency, right? Because the scaling is applied. Because how scaling works, we cannot reverse engineer the exact number of correct answers from the scaled score. So here 760 doesn't actually mean 118 were correct out of 125, because the conversion formula depends on some difficulty calibration, which is a proprietary to NHQ, and we are all unaware of that particular thing, right? So and look at this now. This is how the CPHQ certificate looks like. And I really wish every one of you who are present here would be getting this after we finish this course and your attempt for CPHQ exam is done, right? So I'll be honest with you, CPHQ exam is challenging and the pass rate is somewhere around 60%, means almost about 4 in 10 don't pass on their first attempt. I'm not telling you to scare it. I mean, like I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just setting realistic expectations and trying to motivate for a thorough preparation. Because remember, the people who pass are not necessarily smarter; they are more prepared. They have put in their time. They have understood the material deeply, and they have practiced all the concepts. They have applied. They have stayed consistent with their studying schedules, and hopefully you can absolutely be one of them, inshallah. So I'm really praying that you'll all be successful in that particular exam, right? Now, just a minute. So NHQ is the body that owns and administers the CPHQ exam. So they don't run the exam year long for the international students. It runs on fixed exam windows, right? So 3 weeks of exam window open for about 4 times in a year. So if you miss a window, you'll have to wait for another a few months for to appear for the next window. So here you can see that every window has two components: the application period as well as the exam window. So application period is when you register for your exam, and exam window is when you actually sit for the exam. These two are completely different dates. Don't get confused. And this particular English course for CPHQ is a preparatory for targeting for the exam window 3 and exam window 4. And the choice is yours, and it all depends upon your preparation and confidence before respective application window changes, application window closes. Okay. So this is regarding the CPHQ exams window. Now, all the introductions done, whatever I was supposed to deliver regarding the CPHQ exam is done. Now, moving on to the core of today's session regarding the quality basics. Okay, I hope I'm clear. I'm at the right pace for all of you to follow me. In case if you don't, kindly let me know. Okay, right. So we are all here to attempt our CPHQ exam. We are all quality professionals and all, but the basic or the foundation for this particular what do you say, the course, the profession which we are practicing is quality. Now, what exactly is quality? So this is where it gets interesting, because quality can surprisingly be hard to define. Like, if you ask me, it's like asking someone as what is love. Everyone knows what it feels like, but putting it into words, exactly, that's tougher. That's tough. But in a way, like, uh, let me go through several definitions which are available for some sort of understanding. I want you to notice how each definition actually complements the other one, right? So here, the first general definition is doing right things right and conforming to standards. Means this is your technical definition. So it's about following evidence-based practices and established guidelines. Like, see, when a nurse follows all 5 rights of medication administration, like right patient, right drug, right dose, right route, right time, that's doing the right thing right. Okay. And also conforming to standards. That's quality. Now, conformance to standards. So it's also a similar idea, but it emphasizes that quality is not subjective. So we have benchmarks, we have protocols, clinical pathways. Here, quality means meeting all those standards consistently. And coming to the next one, it's satisfying customer expectations. See, now we are bringing in the patient's perspective. Quality is not just about clinical excellence, it's also about whether patients feel heard, respected, and satisfied with the care that they get, right? So you could have perfect clinical technique, but if your bedside manner is terrible, I mean, like, do you think you have really delivered the quality care? The definition says no, right? And Coming to the last general definition, this is freedom from deficiencies. In a way, this is Juran's influence on this particular thing. So Joseph Juran's quality guru. So it's about minimizing errors, eliminating waste, and preventing things from going wrong. Now, here's where healthcare gets specific. Now look at the Joint Commission definition of quality. It says optimal achievement of therapeutic benefit, minimizing harm. So this is beautiful. It's very simple. Healthcare quality means achieving the best possible outcome for patient while preventing harm. In a way, this is both aspirational. We are going for optimal, not just good enough. Okay, we are going for optimal and we are being protective. We are actively working to prevent harm as well, right? So in a way, like for example, I would like to quote one of the real world examples. Say in a way, like in a hospital has implemented a comprehensive stroke care pathway. Okay, so their goal wasn't just to treat strokes; it was to, in a way, to optimize the door to needle time for thrombolysis. Okay, but the focus was also on simultaneously minimizing the risk of hemorrhagic complications. So here they were targeting the optimal therapeutic benefit with minimal harm. I hope you got the point, right? So in a way, like here you are seeing the practical implementation of what the quality definition by Joint Commission International is, right? Optimal achievement of therapeutic benefit with minimizing harm. Okay, I hope you got the general and Joint Commission definitions of quality. So here I'm going to introduce you to another quality guru, someone who has revolutionized how we think about quality. He is Philip Crosby. So Crosby had the most straightforward, in a way, like straightforward approach to quality. His core beliefs is like quality is conformance to requirements, and the system for achieving quality is prevention and not inspection. In a way, inspection is taken out. The performance standards is zero defects. The measure of quality is the price of non-conformance. Means the measure of quality is the cost of poor quality. Okay, and he is famous for saying that quality is free, where preventing defects costs less than fixing them, right? So in a way, like Crosby's zero defects philosophy was actually controversial. In a way, at the time, his critics said that it was unrealistic. Okay, but this quality guru argued that setting any acceptable level of defects becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. For example, if I say in our hospital, if 2% error rate is acceptable, it's okay to have 2% error rate. What he says is, you will get 2% errors. If you say zero is the goal, you will constantly strive to eliminate all the errors. And in healthcare, especially, zero defects is aspirational. And we all know humans make mistakes, but setting zero harm as the goal drives much more improvement than accepting some level of errors is okay sort of attitude. Okay. So, and finally, see at the bottom, the value of quality is linked to reduced risk, reduced costs, and better patient outcomes. Okay, this is one of the most powerful sort of statements. And in a way, like when I talked about quality is free, the quote by Crosby, actually what happened was in the manufacturing context, back in the days in 1980s, a lot of people thought he was crazy. And in a way, like everyone was like quality cost money. I see many of the healthcare leaders even these days, when we push for certain reforms in quality department or in a way like for accreditations and everything, they do say quality cost money. But remember, we can't afford to be perfect. If they say we can't afford to be perfect, the Crosby's quote of quality is free comes into mind. He was absolutely right. Think about it logically in a way, like if at all, for example, in your hospital, if there's a surgical unit, right? To implement quality, you train your staff properly, you follow checklists, WHO's patient safety checklist, you sterilize equipments correctly, you'll have good handoff communication, good communications and everywhere. And there's also an option of not implementing quality, cutting corners to save time and money. Both these options do involve some sort of cost. Which option for you sounds cheaper? At first glance, you will say cutting corners to save time and money is cheaper. Implementing all those protocols, following all those checklists, training staff, all those involve some sort of investment and some sort of money is what you might actually say. But in a way, just think if at all there's any surgical site infection or if there's any wrong site surgery, wrong limb surgery, or if there's any retained for sort of surgical equipment inside the body of the patient. Think about it. All those might lead to unwanted outcomes, patient suffering, unhappy patients, potential lawsuits, damaged reputations, all this, right? It's a sort of moral distress. Suddenly, option A, which is doing the right thing for the first time, looks like a cheaper one, right? It's a bargain. That's the sort of quality thinking Philip Crosby has brought in. He says quality is free. Okay. Now, we'll talk about another quality guru. So before we go further, we'll understand where all this came from. In a way, like quality in healthcare just didn't appear overnight. Okay, so we have borrowed and adapted concepts from manufacturing domains. Okay, so and let me tell you, the man who started it all in for modern quality improvement was actually a statistician, and he's not a doctor, right? So here you see the photo of Edward Deming, and Deming, along with his colleague Shewart, they developed a PDCA cycle, that is Plan, Do, Check, Act, for continuous quality improvement. So they developed this in 1940s and 50s for manufacturing. Deming actually went to Japan after World War II, and he helped them rebuild their manufacturing sector using these principles. Okay, Japanese didn't just took his ideas in a way, like they fell in love with them, and companies like Toyota took Deming's teachings and created the entire production system around continuous improvement. We all call it as Kaizen, right? So why am I telling you about manufacturing in a to healthcare professionals? Because the quality principles are universal. Okay, quality principles are universal, though there may be some adaptations and all. You might have known what PDCA is. P stands for plan, D for do, C for check, A for act. In a way, like plan, you as far plan is concerned, you identify a problem, you develop a hypothesis, you plan your interventions based on data evidence, and in the next step of do, you implement your plan on a small scale. Because this is important. You just don't implement it throughout the system on the first day. You just test your change in a small unit, okay? And then you check, you analyze the results, you see how the intervention went, what the data is showing. You learn something, and then you act. Based on what you have learned, you either adapt and implement it system-wide, or you adjust it and come up with a new PDCA cycle again, okay? So that's PDCA for you. And this, the quote which you are seeing on your screen, that 94% problems in business are system driven and only 6% are people driven, is iconic. Deming keeps the onus of defects on the system rather than individuals. And that's really a beautiful summary of what quality practitioners believe in. You and I believe in this particular thing. We don't blame individuals in a way like if something goes wrong, there's high probability that there's some sort of problem within the system itself, and we'll try to we strive to correct that particular system rather than putting the blame entirely on that particular individual and bringing in the just culture for better quality, right? Now, so here's another quality guru, Joseph Juran. He was one of the greatest quality thinkers of 20th century. He emphasized that quality management has three components. Sometimes it's also called as Juran trilogy. So quality planning, quality control, quality improvement. In quality planning, designing processes that will meet quality standards. In quality control, we monitor the performance and catch the defects. In quality improvement, we systematically enhance the processes. Okay, that's PCI, quality planning, quality control, and quality improvement. Now remember, we all need all these three. Planning without control means you don't know if your plans worked. Control without improvement means you are just maintaining status quo, you are just maintaining mediocrity. Improvement without planning means you are fixing things randomly without a plan. Okay. Juran, I mean, like one quote, I remember one quote from Juran, quality does not happen by accident, it must be planned. Okay. So this single sentence contains an entire philosophy. Okay. Remember, poor quality is often the result of systems that were never deliberately designed for quality. For example, in a way like, see, medical errors, patient falls, long wait times, or communication breakdowns, all this happen because there's some problem with the system that they don't happen because people were careless. Of course, that may happen, but majority of the times it's a system. They happen because system in which that those people work were never planned properly. They were inadequately controlled and were never systematically improved. So there was no quality planning, there was no quality control, and there was no quality improvement. All right. So, in short, this Juran trilogy gives you the language and structure to change that particular scenario. Plan it, control it, improve it, and then plan again at a higher level. Okay. Now going deep into the Juran's trilogy, look here. Remember, quality planning, quality improvement, quality control, and quality improvement are interlocking processes. They are together. All three together form a complete practical system. They are not individualized. So first, look at quality planning. So quality planning is where everything begins. Okay, Juran said you cannot control or improve something that was never designed for quality in first place. So before anything else, you must plan for quality, right? Now let us go step by step into all these three. Now in quality planning, for step one, identify who are the customers. This sounds simple for you, but it's one of the most underestimated steps in the entire quality journey. Just imagine in your hospital, who are your customers? In a way like you might say the patient. Yes, absolutely. Patients are primary customers, but remember, there are internal and external customers as well. Your customers are also the family members accompanying the patient sitting by the bedside, anxious and watching everything. Your customers are also referring physicians who trusted you to take good care of their patients. External customers also include insurance company which is paying for the care. It's also the regulatory body or the accreditation body. It's also the nurse. It's also the doctor who's depending on the radiology to deliver the reports. Okay, so all the hospital staff or the internal sort of customers, and there are also external customers. So here, when we are talking about identify who your customers, we are not just talking about the patients. Okay. Here, Juran actually used a powerful concept. He said customers fall into two groups, like the vital few are those whose needs are most critical to get right. And there are useful many, means those whose needs also matter, but perhaps less immediate weight at that particular situation, right? So start the quality planning journey by mapping who the customers are, deciding who gets priority focus. If you skip this step, you will design care around assumptions, okay, instead of actual needs. And now coming to the second step, determine the needs of the customer. Once you know who your customers are, you must understand what they actually need. It's not what you think they need. There's a difference. Here, you should be knowing what they genuinely require. Okay, this is called the voice of customer. Remember, customers have two types of needs: stated needs and real needs. What is stated needs? In a way, stated needs are what they tell you they want. Real needs are what they actually need, or which they might not even be fully aware of themselves regarding the real needs. For example, in a way to simplify, let's say a patient says, I'm suffering from pain, I just want the pain to go away. This is a stated need, but the real need might be effective pain management for the patient that doesn't interfere with their recovery, clear communication, and treatment administered on time with minimal side effects. These are all the real needs buried inside that one particular statement. Okay. So quality planning requires you to dig deeper, survey the patients, do focus group, analyze all the complaint data, review patient satisfaction results, talk to staff. All of that feeds into understanding what customers truly need. Now, then after that, translate those needs into our language. So this is a fascinating step. See, it often gets overlooked. It's actually sophisticated, very sophisticated thinking. Here, Juran recognized that customer needs are expressed in their language. They are experiential. The customers may be emotional. I mean, like the language may be functional as well. But to deliver quality, organization need to translate those needs into operational language, like specifications, standards, measurable criteria, clinical protocols, etc. But here's the challenge: if the translation is poor, the final product fails, even if everyone followed the process perfectly. Let me simplify this again. If a patient says, I want to feel informed about my patient, about my treatment, great. But what does that mean operationally? What's he actually telling you? Operationally, what are you going to rephrase that in? Does it mean that he wants an informed consent discussion, or does he need a written discharge summary in plain, simple language, or does he need a follow-up phone call? What exactly is he looking for? Until unless you translate that into your operational language, which is actionable, measurable, designed features of care, then it might be difficult for you to implement. This is sometimes called the quality by design. Okay. So building quality into the care pathway before patient even arrives also. Now, coming to the next step, develop a product that can respond to customer needs. Okay. Now, this step is about developing a product or a service or care pathway that actually capable of responding to those translated customer needs. You have identified the customers, you got to know the needs of the customers, you have translated their needs into your language, operational language. Now you have to develop a service. Now you have to develop a process, right? So here you need to respond and develop that particular process. Now coming to the next step of quality improvement. So here, even after you have planned for quality, there will always be gaps between where you are and where you could be. Quality improvement is the process of systematically closing those gaps. It's not just fixing the problems, but reaching breakthrough levels of performance. Okay. So here, the next step is develop a process which is able to produce the product. developing of a product, and then in a way like develop the process which is able to produce that sort of the product. In quality planning, you have designed the initial process. In quality improvement, you're asking, is the process actually performing as designed, and can we make it better? Okay. So this step involves examining your current process capabilities, and then you see, are they producing acceptable outputs on average with variations? What's the situation? Some might be excellent, some might be terrible. Okay. So in a way like quality improvement targets that variation and designs a more capable, more reliable process. In a way, like our aim is to have a more reliable process in place. For example, you see, in your ER, if the door to physician time is somewhere about 30 minutes, that might sound acceptable for you. But if you analyze the data from on Monday mornings, it's somewhere around 10 minutes. But on Friday nights, if it is about 60 minutes, there's a huge variation. On Mondays, door to physician time is 10 minutes. On Fridays, your door to physician time is somewhere around 1 hour. There's a huge variation, right? Quality improvement says, let's understand why these variations exist and design a more reliable, capable process that performs consistently regardless of day or time. Okay. Now, then the next step comes, let's optimize the process. This is where improvement becomes truly powerful. Okay. So remember, optimization means not just fixing what's broken, it's making what's working even better. Okay. Juran talked about the term breakthrough improvement. What is breakthrough improvement? It's getting to the level of performance that has never been achieved before. It's not small incremental sort of change. It's not small incremental improvement. It's in a way like the level of performance which has never been achieved before. It's not just restoring the process to its previous state. Okay, this is a mindset shift completely. So in case if nothing is broken right now, can we still improve? Yes, we can. There's always scope for improvement. There is no sort of what do you say, end destination for quality, right? In a way like for you see, one common example, we all audit our hand hygiene compliance, right? So in your hospital, if it's somewhere around 80%, and if your national benchmark for top performance is 95%, nothing is broken, but you are above average. But optimization asks, how do we go to 95%? What do the top performing units do which you are not doing? What is preventing the compliance of your hospital? That inquiry, that ambition is called as quality improvement. Okay. Now, coming to quality control, this is the third leg of trilogy. Okay. So quality control is not the old inspection. Quality control of Juran's trilogy is not the old inspection based approach. It's very specific and very practical. It's a continuation. Now, the next step of optimizing the process, and then you'll have to prove that the process can produce the product under operating conditions. Now we were all planning, we were all optimizing in a way like what do you say, theoretically and all. But here in quality control, you should be able to prove with data, with measurement, with evidence that the process actually works in real world and not just on a paper, not just on a pilot study. Okay, this is about validation and verification under real operating conditions, right? So we all know real operating conditions are really messy. On paper, during planning, during pilot study, we have most of the times we never involve the human factors. We never involve fatigue. We never anticipate certain malfunctions or unexpected complexities, right? But here in quality control, we should prove that the process holds true, holds good in those conditions as well. Okay. For example, you might have redesigned your hands-off protocol between ICU and a general ward. It works perfectly in simulation in pilot project, but will it work In the morning, 7 a.m. shift change when the ICU is at full with low resource setting with only one nurse looking after 3 to 4 patients. Will your handoff protocol work at that particular moment? Because here you are staff on short, the fatigue is supposed to be there, the timing is very critical, and under these real-time operating conditions, will your process survive? That's where this particular step comes into play. Now, after all these things, you are supposed to transfer that process to operation, right? The final step. You have designed an excellent process, you have piloted it, you have proven it works, and now you have to hand it over to the operations. You have to implement it on a large scale. And this requires training of all the staff because they are supposed to know that new process thoroughly and not vaguely. There should be documentation. The process must be written clearly and kept up to date. There should be monitoring. Metrics must be in place. And it should be accountable. Someone must own this performance. And apart from this, all, one most important thing is culture. The new process must become the way do we do things here. It's not like, okay, quality department has asked us to try for this month, we are doing it. That should be inherent culture of that particular thing. Okay, so remember this. In case of sometimes in your exam, if the question is around the Juran's trilogy, they may give you a scenario and they may be asking us to which step of Juran's trilogy is that particular thing talking about, whether it's quality planning, quality improvement, or quality control. Once you get to know these steps, it's easier for you. There's nothing to worry about. Okay. Now, now we'll in a way like we'll go through the history of total quality management. Okay. See, I want you to notice something before we start. TQM did not appear overnight like one brilliant idea. It evolved. It grew step by step, decade by decade. We have adopted it from different industries. You see, the start of TQM movement drew from Hawthorne studies in the late 1920s and early 1930s. And then Deming and Juran's work in Japan, and then to the US Navy's formal use of term TQM in 1980s. So in a way, like that's the evolution of TQM. When we talk about 1930s, Elton Mayo had a famous Hawthorne experiment. So these studies showed that worker productivity was influenced not only by physical conditions, but also by attention, participation, and social factors. This particular insight became known as Hawthorne effect. Okay. So why does it matter for quality? Because this was one of the first big reminders that human beings are not machines. If you want better quality, you can't just write rules and expect magic. You have to involve people, listen to them, and recognize that engagement affects performance. Okay. Hawthorne work helped, the shift management towards participation and human relations, which later became central to TQM. Okay. So we all know in healthcare, this is true. If frontline nurses, all technicians are excluded from decisions, what do you say? Quality efforts always fail. But when staff participate, quality improves because people doing the work usually know the process best. So this is one of the questions that you might come across, wherein the answer might be like the quality is everyone's responsibility, and frontline staff who are implementing that particular process are supposed to know, supposed to participate in the decision making for that particular unit. Okay. Now, coming to 1950s, what happened here? This decade is strongly associated with Deming and Juran. Okay. So Deming taught statistical quality control methods, as I told you earlier, in Japan, and Juran emphasized the management's role in quality and systematic quality planning and improvement, and their teachings became foundational for what Japan is today. After a sort of complete industrial revolution for them. So this is a huge turning point in the history. Before this, quality was often seen as an inspection, find a bad product at the end and throw it out. But Deming and Juran shifted that thinking towards improving the process itself. Like, don't just detect defects, but prevent them. Okay, that is a sort of similar idea for us, because in healthcare, what we say is, don't wait for a medication error or a fault to happen or a sort of hospital-acquired infection to happen and then react to it. Build a safer system so that problem is less likely to happen and everyone is safe, right? So coming to the 1960s, we see there's Douglas McGregor, who formed the Theory X and Theory Y. So this isn't a quality tool similar to PDC or control charts or say, but it had a major influence on leadership and management thinking. Here, Theory X assumes people dislike work and need to be controlled. Theory Y assumes people can be self-directed, responsible, and motivated under right conditions. So here, McGregor's concept became influential leadership model in management thinking. Okay. So why is this on a TQM history slide? Because TQM depends heavily on how leaders see people. If I say leadership believes staff are lazy and needs constant policing, what you get is fear, silence, and compliance at best. Okay. But if leadership believes that the people want to contribute and improve, you create a culture where teams speak up, they solve problems and participate in improvement. It's all about how leaders see people. And honestly, this is one of the biggest differences between the organization which talk about quality and organization which actually live quality. Here, one more question which I get into my mind is, who is ultimately responsible for implementation of quality? It's always the top guy, CEO, the management. Okay, they are not supposed to just talk, they are supposed to live quality. Okay, now coming to 1970s, here the Japanese shaped total quality control, TQC. Okay, so it's a company wide philosophy of quality. It's not just inspection in one department. Okay, it's company wide in a way, like system wide or say. So in other words, what's happened is, quality is not the responsibility of one inspector or one manager or one person, or to say it's not even the responsibility of quality department. It belongs to everybody. It belongs to leadership. It belongs to operations. It belongs to everyone, right? So this was another major leap for quality. Okay. Now, in a way, like, you may get questions regarding this one as well. Like, who is responsible? I'm not talking about ultimately responsible. I'm talking about who is responsible for quality. Everyone is responsible for quality. This is one of the type of questions that you may come across in your CPHQ exam as well. Now, coming to 1980s, here the term TQM became widely recognized because US Naval Air System Command coined the phrase total quality management. And US Navy looked at what Japanese have done and said, we need similar management approach. They have branded it TQM, spread the concept, and in a way, like, this is why TQM is more of a tool set. It's a management philosophy now, where TQM says quality is everybody's job, leadership owns quality, processes must be improved continuously, etc. Right? Now, coming to 1990s, we have come across newer methodologies such as lean manufacturing or Six Sigma. So now this is where you shouldn't be confused. If you think lean, Six Sigma, CQI, TQM are all exactly same thing, they're not the same. There's a difference. TQM is a broad philosophy. Lean thinking helps reduce the waste. Six Sigma helps reduce variation and defects. CQI focuses on ongoing improvement in practice. Okay, that's a major difference. Now, coming to 2000s, what happened? Quality management became even formalized through standards like ISO 9001. And ISO 9001 was originally published in 1987, but later revisions happened in 2000 and 2015. Okay, so in a way, like, that focuses more on business planning, quality management, etc. So what does that tell us? It tells us quality matured from inspecting products to managing processes to leading organization through continuous improvements. That's a big shift. Okay. So this is evolution of TQM in a way. Now, this particular slide is one of my favorites for this entire session. You see, this is a boring sort of dual color slide. I'll try to make it as interesting as possible. I'll try to. But before I start, just look at it. Look at the shape of this particular image. Do you notice anything? Here, you see that, what do you see? All these things are taller. I mean, like the columns are getting taller, starting from quality control to total quality excellence. The columns are getting taller, right? So, do you think this is an accident? No. In a way, like this is a gist of telling that quality evolved through decades. It didn't just change; it grew. It got bigger. It got broader and ambitious as well. Okay, so that growth is exactly what we are going to go through now. And see, we'll start with quality control. Okay, so you see the eye icon over here, right? So quality control in this era was literally about looking at the end product and deciding whether it's pass or fail. Like you say, QC in that era focused on product timing. Was the product delivered when it was supposed to be, or like how many defects were there, or how many errors were there? Did it meet the physical standard? What feedback came from the customers, right? So it's all about accepting or rejecting the product, and that was quality control in a way. Now, coming to the 70s and 80s, quality assurance came in. Here you see the gear icons, right? So what quality assurance introduced? So here it introduced quality assurance as a formal function, and it started process documentation and qualifications, like writing down how things should be done. Okay, and quality standards were established, benchmarks to measure against, and end of line quality checks were there, like structured final inspections before sending off that particular product to the market. So what changed here? Only approach. The approach has changed. Rather than just an individual inspector using their eyes and judgment, organizations started creating formal processes. Earlier in QC, if at all I was an inspector, if I say pass or fail, that would have gone. But in quality assurance, what happened is all the standards have come in. Even if I check, even if you check, quality assurance, we are supposed to follow those documentations and standards, and still we were accepting in a way, like we were actually saying it's accepted and rejected thing, but albeit with some sort of standards, and there's an element of compliance in this particular philosophy. Now coming to the third era, it's quality management era. Here you see an icon of growth. Okay, so here quality management introduced quality process, wherein designing the process so quality is built in. It has brought in process manuals where documented systems for repeatable excellence is there. It has brought in software quality management, quality assurance standards, ISO 9001, and it says everybody is responsible. That's a big shift. And then quality improvement actions are proactive, structured, and improvement activities. It has also brought in quality awareness, wherein it built the mindset and not just compliance. And it started measuring the cost of quality to understand the financial impact of poor quality. So, in a way, like, let me emphasize it a little bit. Here, everybody is responsible. This is the first time we see that quality shift from being the quality department's job to being everyone's job. In 1960s and 70s, quality was what the inspector did. Now that era is done, the idea takes root that physician, the nurse, pharmacist, everyone owns quality, right? And the second concept is measuring cost of quality. You see, cost of quality is a concept that deserves some attention. Cost of quality is the total cost incurred because things don't go right, plus the cost of trying to make sure they do. In a way, like implementing all, like how we discussed earlier, an example wherein we were cost of good quality, right? Cost of good quality is prevention costs like training, process, design, audits, and also the cost required for inspections, testing, and quality checks. That's cost of good quality. Whereas what is cost of poor quality? If there is an internal failure cost, like fixing errors before they reach the patient, external failure costs, errors that reach the patient, and then there are complaints, there is litigation, there is harm, there is readmissions. All these are cost of poor quality. So, preventing poor quality costs far less than anything than correcting it. Okay, preventing poor quality costs far less than correcting it. Okay, so we have already discussed, as what Crosby said, quality is free. What he meant was investing in prevention eliminates larger costs of failure. Okay, it's better to bear the cost of training the staff, implementing all those checklists, having a proper quality department and implementation of all those standards, rather than to pay someone for after a lawsuit when the patient harm was already done. Okay, so that's the cost of quality. Now coming to fourth era. This is an era of total quality management. Here, what TQM has brought in is customer satisfaction. It has here the customer defines quality, and the thought process has evolved to customer-centric quality strategy. There's striving for excellence. Here, you see, earlier it was meeting standards, but here we are trying to exceed the standards. We are striving for excellence, and then empowering the leadership and leadership change. Here the frontline workers are trusted and empowered. Earlier it was the management who was supposed to do that. Now here everyone is empowered, and frontline workers are trusted and empowered. Along with that, there's an impact on society, and here quality extends beyond the organization, and there are quality awards, TQM, and quality audits, etc. So one important thing is impact on society. TQM started to look beyond the walls of the organization. See, a hospital also affects the community it serves, right? So here the TQM started connecting the quality to social responsibility. And remember, this would become even more central to the next era of total quality excellence. Okay, so coming to the fifth and final column, from 2020, in a way, like we are in it, we are in this particular era of total quality excellence. Here, customer and stakeholder centric quality strategy is there. Here, not just customers, but all stakeholders are central to this particular quality. Now, striving for excellence. Earlier, it was only conformance to standards. Then there was striving for excellence. But here, excellence itself is the baseline. It's not the ceiling. One new concept that has come is environmental social governance and impact on society. Right? So here, quality connects to sustainability as well as ethics. What is ESG? In a way, like ESG is environmental social governance. Here, organizations are now accountable not just for their financial performance or clinical outcomes, but also for their environmental footprint, their social impact, their governance practices, ethics, transparency, etc. Right? So if at all we look at overall picture, we see that the quality has evolved in 5 clear phases from one era to another: QC to QA, QA to QM, QM to TQM, TQM to TQE. Okay, so one more important thing to understand is every era built on the one before it. Nothing was discarded. It just expanded. Okay. QC didn't disappear. We still measure defects and do quality checks. QA did disappear. We still document processes and follow standards. QM didn't disappear. We still track cost of quality and hold everyone responsibility. So in a way, like we built upon the previous era. We are growing bigger. Okay. So remember, we are in the era of TQE. we are tracking patient satisfaction, we are calculating the carbon footprint alongside the infection rates, we are talking about ethics, we are talking about psychological safety of the staff involved. So all this is TQE, right? So before I go ahead and talk about the key dimensions of quality care, it's been 1 hour. I'd just like to give you 5 minutes of break and I'll be back so that someone who wants to take a bio break and take some water.
About sustainability, right?
Yes, doctor. Yes.
Sustainability, it means sustaining the improvement. For example, we did improvement project. That improvement project was very perfect, and we did all steps, and we already have good outcome from that project. So, how to maintain process owners working on the new procedure or new initiative or that new project that I did through sustainability plan or what we say control plan. So the last step for any improvement project that we must have control plan to control the steps to ensure continuous working on the new steps that already we worked on to ensure sustainability of the improvements that we already did.
Okay.
Okay, is it clear now?
Okay. Can you, doctor, can you give me one example?
For example, we did improvement project to improve the patient no show patient no show or to decrease the number of patient no show time or improve the patient waiting time or improving any process or any improvement. We collaborate through team to improve specific procedure after working on the focus BDCA process or BDCA or any methodology of performance improvement that we will discuss later in the performance improvement chapter that will Dr. Nadim will explain it in details. Whenever the tool used in improvement, after finishing all steps of improvement, we must ensure sustaining that improvement all over the organization through control plan, setting a plan to monitor. Plan of this plan contain detailed steps with KPIs that refer to key performance indicators that we will monitor our performance through that indicator continuously to ensure the sustainability of that improvement.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
Thank you. And by the way, we have another term about sustainability that all worldwide are focusing on it now, the environmental sustainability, decreasing the carbon footprint in the environment. It's another department from sustainability that all world now focusing on it.
Mhm.
Sustainability of the environment and the economic sustainability and so on.
Okay. Mm. Related to other in hospital, how we can implement, like what we can do. This is the last step of after the quality improvement. We need to maintain, as
Yes,
I
maintain improvement.
maintain the improvement.
Yes,
So in hospital, how we can, what
through
strategy we
setting
can
through setting KPIs and
uh,
monitoring KPIs.
through
That
KPIs.
as we know that what we can't measure, we can't improve. So before any improvement, we must have the baseline data of the current data or current baseline through KPI. So we will use KPIs as a performance indicator that will guide me in my journey in performance improvement. After that, after getting the baseline data, I will set the plan for improvement and choose the methodology, improvement methodology that I will use during my journey in the quality improvement team. After finishing all steps of quality improvement, I must re-measure again using the same KPI to check the outcome and compare it with my goal to check if improvement occur or not yet. Okay, after
Okay.
finishing all steps and already improvement was great and it was scaled of organization wide and so on, we must control it all the time,
Okay.
monitoring it through KPIs, through continuous data collection to
Mhm.
maintain the improvement.
Okay. Okay. شكرا دكتور شكرا.
Thank you.
So I hope all the queries were addressed. Thank you, Dr. Wissam.
Thank you. You are welcome, Dr. Nadi.
Is my pace of the lecture fine, or am I going too fast or too slow? Kindly let me know so that I can adjust accordingly.
If anyone have any comment, can open mic. I think it's fine. You can complete, Dr. Nadi.
Sure. Thank you. So coming back here now, we are getting into the heart of what quality actually looks like in practice. We are going to talk about the key dimensions of quality care. Okay, we have talked about the theory, we have talked about the definitions, we have talked about the history and everything. Now we are into the practical implementation, or how it actually looks in practice. Okay, so think these key dimensions as different lenses through which we see whether we are providing excellent care or not. Okay, so first up is appropriateness. So what is appropriateness? Care relevant to individual clinical needs. The key word here is relevant. Okay, so why am I specially telling you the keyword? Because whenever the questions in the exam come regarding appropriateness, the language or the terms or the words interchange. These are the keywords which help you identify the answers as well. Okay, so here the keyword is relevant. Now, let me ask you something. Did you ever see a patient receiving a test or a treatment they don't actually need? Or you say a CT scan was done when it was not clinically indicated? You might have. Or in a way, like for a much more common example, did you actually see whether an antibiotic was prescribed for a small viral common cold? If at all you have seen that, then advising or prescribing antibiotic for common cold is not appropriate. Okay, so appropriateness means, appropriate care means the right care for the right patient at the right time, and the care should be evidence based and patient specific. Okay, so see, a treatment might be appropriate for one patient and completely inappropriate for another patient with different conditions or circumstances. For example, MRI for one patient may be appropriate, but MRI for a patient who has his stainless steel implant in his body is inappropriate. Okay, so this is, I hope you got what appropriateness means. Okay, now coming to availability. So availability is accessible care to meet clinical needs. This means, can patients actually get the care they need or not? See, uh, we had a hospital wherein there was an excellent cardiology department, state of the art equipment, brilliant doctors, all credentialed, but they only were available to see the patients from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. only from Monday to Friday. But see, most of the times heart attacks happen early in the morning, or in a way like at any on any given day. If someone had a chest pain at 6 p.m., they'll have to wait until morning or go to the emergency department. So here, there's an availability problem. even though the quality of cardiology care itself was very much excellent, right? So availability also includes things like what do you say, can the patients afford care, or if the facility is physically accessible, I mean, like physically accessible for people with disabilities, or is there any translation service available for non-English speakers, or in such a way? Availability is from every dimension. Okay, now coming to competency. What is competency? It's practitioner's ability to achieve desired outcome. Competency is ability. All bold letters in here are the keywords for that particular dimension. Remember that, because sometimes you may get the CPHQ question asking which dimension of quality is this. So these keywords will help you identify the answer. Okay. So competency is about skill, knowledge, judgment, and experience. Competency is what patients assume when they walk into healthcare facility. That people treating them know what they are doing, right? So one thing to remember, it's not just about initial training. Competency is not about initial training. You see, a surgeon who was brilliant 5 years ago but hasn't kept up with new techniques, do you think he's competent enough for the new technique? Here's the competency issue comes into play, right? For example, let's take a nurse who's very wonderful with adult patients but has never worked with children. If you put them in pediatric ward, that's a competency problem. So remember, organizations maintain competency through credentialing, privileging, continuing education, and continuous performance monitoring. So Joint Commission JCI has an entire standard about competency assessment. Okay, so remember, competency is not a one-time thing, it's ongoing. Okay, for example, you see, in a way like continuous training will help update the surgeons with the new sort of techniques, and that might reduce complications, that might directly improve the final outcomes. Okay, so the competency is the ability to achieve desired outcomes. Now, coming to continuity, it's seamless care coordination across settings. So this is a big one. It's where healthcare traditionally fails miserably. So this has been a problem for most of the organizations. So for example, there's a patient in a hospital for pneumonia. So let's say she gets great care, recovers well, and goes home. But her primary care doctor was not informed that she was hospitalized. There's no one to schedule a follow-up. Medication, the medications for which the hospital has prescribed are different from what she used to get at her home. There was no hospital reconciliation. Nobody was there to reconcile them. So what happens? After 2 weeks, she's back in the hospital with complications. What happened here? There's a continuity failure. So most of the times it does happen. Health, in a way, like our healthcare system is such fragmented that we don't really want to talk about it. Specialists don't talk to primary care physicians. Hospitals don't communicate with clinics. Nobody's coordinating. So here, improving continuity is one of the biggest opportunities that we have in the quality department. Okay. Sorry. Now, coming to respect and caring. See, what is respect and caring? It's sensitivity to individual needs and differences. Also providing equitable care. So this is about treating patients as human beings with dignity, respecting their preferences, values, cultural backgrounds, religion, etc. Okay, it's also about equity, providing the same quality of care regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic status, or insurance types. See, two patients might receive identical medical treatments, but in case if one feels listened to, respected, and cared for, while others feel that he was rushed or dismissed, they haven't received the same quality of care. Here, the quality is measured through the dimension of respect and caring. Respect and caring might mean to listening to patients and their families. It's also honoring the cultural beliefs and practices. It's respecting patients' autonomy and preferences, right? So and also showing empathy and compassion. Okay. And in nursing care or within the hospital setting, it's as simple like knocking the door before entering the patient's room, explaining the procedures before doing them. Okay, what's expected of it. And it's also about their dietary restrictions, few are vegetarian and few are non-vegetarian. And it's also about religious practices that might affect their care. So all this comes under respect and caring dimension of quality. Okay, now coming to safety. So what is safety? It's minimizing the risk for patients, visitors and staff. It's minimizing the risk for everyone. So safety is non-negotiable. So it's the foundation upon which all other quality rests. Okay, if care is not safe, nothing else matters. Minimizing the risk for patients, visitors, and staff. So we'll be talking about the patient safety in future chapters, but for now, understand that safety is preventing harm from the care itself. Okay, so preventing medication errors, preventing falls, etc. So that's what you are supposed to know. We see humans are not infallible. They're fallible. Humans make mistakes. Safety isn't about perfection. Safety is about designing systems that catch these mistakes before they harm the patients. Okay, it's also about creating the culture where people can report errors without the fear of punishment. Okay, and it's also from about learning from near miss events and failure, etc. Excuse me.
Go ahead, Dr. Nadim. Mic is closed. Dr. Nadim, your mic is closed.
Yeah, sorry, I was just having some cough. Okay, so coming back to safety, safety means preventing medication errors, hospital acquired infections, preventing all the falls and injuries, etc. Okay, we'll be talking more about safety in future chapters. Now, coming to timeliness. So, timeliness is providing care at most beneficial time. Remember that most beneficial time. Time matters in healthcare. Uh, for those who worked in ER or in cardiology and neurology, they might be knowing time is muscle in heart attacks, right? So time is brain in case of strokes that we say generally, where every minute of delay leads to a tissue death of both heart in case of heart attacks and brain in case of strokes, wherein that might lead to worse outcomes, right? So timeliness isn't just about emergencies, it's also about wait times for appointments, if you see. And then if whether the test results are coming back on time, whether the treatment is starting when it's supposed to be, are there any sort of delays in diagnosis, or what if a patient gets his report of biopsy after 6 weeks stating there's a malignancy. There's a timeliness problem, right? That might create a problem for the patient. So here's a timeliness problem in case of delays that could literally cause their life. So timeliness isn't just about emergency, it's also about reasonable wait times, turnaround times and all. Now coming to prevention. See, promoting health and preventing disease. They say the best treatment for a disease is not getting it in the first place, right? Prevention is better than cure is what we generally say. Prevention includes vaccinations, screening, health education, lifestyle counseling, all these things keep people healthy. But here's the irony. We all know healthcare systems make most money from treating sick people and not keeping people healthy. The incentives are backwards in our industry. That's the reason why value-based care and population health management are trying to shift the focus towards prevention. We'll be going through that in future sessions. You see, for example, preventing diabetes is a lot cheaper and better for patients than treating complications from diabetes. Okay, so you will have to understand this particular dimension of prevention. The prevention is is the most cost-effective dimension actually, right? Um, and within prevention there are multiple levels: primary prevention, secondary prevention, and tertiary prevention, which will also be discussed in detail later on. But in short, for you to know, preventing a disease before it occurs through vaccinations and healthy lifestyle promotion is primary prevention. Early detection and treatment through cancer screening, blood pressure checks is secondary prevention. And whereas preventing complications in people who have already have the disease, for example, like diabetes foot care to prevent amputations in diabetic patients, this is tertiary prevention. Okay, so these were the 8 dimensions of quality. There are 3 more dimensions that are slightly different from what we have discussed now. So in a way, like these are about how we evaluate or how the quality is achieved. Let us discuss in a way, like we'll start with effectiveness. Remember, even in the practice and the CPHQ model questions, there are multiple questions related to effectiveness, efficiency, and efficacy. It's very much important for you to understand this particular slide. In a way, like don't try to memorize, try to understand. See, and the bold letters are the keywords. Okay. So what is effectiveness? Effectiveness is the degree to which care achieves desired outcomes. Desired outcomes. Okay. So outcomes, desired outcomes is effectiveness. Now, what does it say? This is like, does it work question. Okay. You can do everything right from a process standpoint, but if patients are not getting better, there might be something wrong. So here, effectiveness is measured through outcomes. For example, if you are treating hypertension, our blood pressure is actually coming down. And for an orthopedic surgeon who does hip replacement, are patients able to walk better? So these are like the outcomes. The keyword here is the degree again. Okay, it's not all or nothing. Maybe 80% of the patients getting improved. There's a certain degree of effectiveness. So that's quality improvement. So that's the dimension of effectiveness. Now coming to efficacy. Efficacy is potential capacity or capability to produce desired outcomes. Here, the keyword is capacity or capability. So this might confuse you. Most people get confused between effectiveness and efficacy, but there's a crucial difference. Now, think efficacy. Efficacy is about potential. What could happen under ideal conditions? Again, efficacy is about potential under ideal conditions, whereas effectiveness is about what actually happens in real world practice. To simplify this, let me say there's a new medication which says it has 95% efficacy in clinical trials because the conditions are carefully selected patients, controlled conditions with perfect adherence. That's efficacy. That's the potential of that particular drug. 95% efficacy. But when you use the same medication in real patients, because there are human factors involved, the patient may forget his dose, they might have other health conditions, they might not follow the diet restrictions, maybe the drug is only about 60% effective, right? That's effectiveness in reality. The difference is efficacy is the potential, what could actually happen in controlled settings, but effectiveness is what actually happens and in real world practice. Okay, so that's the major difference between efficacy and effectiveness. Remember, for the exam, if you see ideal conditions, that's efficacy. If you see real world, that's effectiveness. A practical application and how questions will be, we'll discuss in quiz and quality basics cases. Now coming to efficiency. So efficiency is optimum resource utilization for desired outcomes. So efficiency is about getting the best results with the least waste, like waste of time, money, supply, staff, whatever it is. For example, you see there are two hospitals, both achieve excellent outcomes in knee replacement, same complication rate, same patient satisfaction, same functional recovery. They have almost the same in all aspects that we have compared. But if hospital A does with an average length of stay for 5 days and the cost is $25,000 for that particular case, and hospital B does that in 3 days with $18,000, which one do you think is more efficient? Obviously, hospital B, because they are getting the same outcome with less resource use. Okay, that's optimal resource utilization for desired outcomes. That's efficiency for you. But the most important thing for you to remember is efficiency can't come at the cost of effectiveness. If hospital C, there's a third hospital, if that does the knee replacement within 2 days, within 15,000, when compared to 18,000 and 25,000 earlier, but has twice the complication rate, do you think that is efficient? No, that's not efficiency. That's just cheap and dangerous. That might be harmful for the patient because the complication rate has increased. So efficiency is optimal resource utilization for desired outcomes. Now, coming to aspects of quality care. So there are three different perspectives on quality, and understanding this will help you see the full picture, right? Quality care is measurable, appreciative, and perceptive. So what is measurable quality? See, measurable quality is judged by the provider through comparative measures like comparing to standards. For example, you see, measurable quality is objective. There are numbers, there are metrics, there is data. For example, say your surgical site infection rate is 2.3% and national benchmark is 1.8%. That's measurable quality. You are either meeting the standard or you're not meeting the standard. So these are like quality indicators or metrics, dashboards, or measuring the door to balloon time for heart attacks, wait times. All these things which you measure, all are measurable. What's the beauty of it? It's objective, it's comparable, it's trackable over the time. But there are limitations for measurable quality. What are the limitations? Not everything that matters can be measured easily. Tell me, how do you measure compassion? How do you measure dignity? How do you measure respect? Obviously, those are not measurable, right? But remember, measurable quality gives us data, numbers, trends, comparisons, and it's very much essential for systematic improvement because you can't improve what you don't measure, right? That's what Dr. Wissam was telling earlier in the break. Now, coming to appreciative quality. Appreciative quality is judged by experienced practitioners using personal judgment. Example, peer review. So this is like, I know it when I see it version of quality. Like, for example, if an experienced surgeon watches a junior operating and say, yes, that's an excellent technique, or no, that doesn't work. They're using their experience, their judgment, their years of experience. Peer review is the classic example. Like other physicians might review the clinical decisions and documentation to assess the quality. It's subjective. Here, appreciative quality is subjective. It's not objective like the measurable quality because see, even though it is subjective, it is informed subjectivity. There's a challenge in this particular appreciative quality. Two experienced practitioners might disagree. So that's why we don't rely on appreciative quality also too much. We need more objective measures also. See, it's a sort of expert judgment. It's when you see, like how I told, one peer judging, one experienced peer judging another one, right? You see, if an experienced nurse evaluates whether the care plan was appropriate for that particular patient situation or not, that's appreciative quality. So here, appreciative quality recognizes that not everything can be reduced to numbers. Clinical judgment matters expertise matters, and also context matters. The key is this judgment is informed by experience and expertise. This is not arbitrary. You not being a surgeon can't judge a surgeon in an OT. Only if you're an experienced surgeon, you can actually judge. Okay, so this is a sort of this is one fine thing you should be remembering. Okay, now coming to the last aspect, perceptive quality. So perceptive quality is judged by recipient of care. For example, patient satisfaction. So this is quality from the patient's perspective. It measures did they did they feel heard, were they treated with respect, or are they going to recommend the hospital to their friends or family. So here's something interesting, like patients can't always judge technical quality. They don't know if the technique which was followed by surgery a surgeon was perfect or not, but they can absolutely judge their experience, and this experience matters enormously for us. You see, organization follow HCAPs. There are PREMs and PROMs that are being measured because patients who feel respected and involved lead to have better clinical outcomes as well. Okay, because if they're respected, if they're heard, if they're involved in their particular care, they follow treatment plans, they communicate openly, and they engage in their own care, that leads to better outcomes. Okay, remember, all these three aspects are important. A truly high quality healthcare organization or a hospital excels in all three aspects: measurable quality, appreciative quality, and perceptive quality. They are complementary to each other, and they are never competing aspects. Okay, so definitely you are going to need the data for measurable quality. You are going to need the wisdom of appreciative quality to handle complex situations, and you definitely need the feedback from perceptive quality for truly patient-centric care, for ultimate goal of systematic quality improvement. Okay, now let's talk about quality management as a discipline. Here we are going to talk about the definition of quality management. What does it say? What does it say? It's a systematic approach. It's planned organization-wide effort to improve performance. You see, quality management is not random. It's not heroic individual efforts. It's not luck at all. It's systematic. Systematic meaning there's a particular method, a particular process, a structure. It's planned, meaning it's intentional and strategic. And also it's organization-wide, meaning everyone is involved from the top CEO to the frontline staff. Okay, so quality management is how organizations create a culture on the system that produces high quality care, right? So coming to continuous improvement, it's ongoing efforts to enhance quality care. We have already gone through Deming's and PDCA cycle. Okay, that principle is embedded in organization culture. So here the quality management recognizes that medicine evolves continuously. The problems emerge in complex systems, and there's always a room for improvement. And sort of complex systems are there and problems are there. So for in a way, like continuous improvements mean there is no end goal. You have to solve one problem of the other, and the other. You need to move from one to the next. Whenever you reach one goal, you set another goal. It's a sort of mindset and a discipline. Okay, so that's where we tell. That's what we discussed earlier. In Japanese, it's called kaizen, which means change for better. Okay, small incremental improvements consistently applied over time leads to dramatic results. I want to tell one sort of real life example regarding Toyota. See, they have an internal culture wherein they receive numerous, sort of thousands of improvement suggestions from employees every year. They don't really expect each one to be revolutionary idea or an improvement suggestion, but they have a culture. They create a culture where everyone is constantly thinking about how could we do this better. So in a way, like this is something which we need to adapt in our healthcare for continuous improvement. Okay. Now, quality management is comprehensive, means it has three phases: quality planning, quality control, and quality improvement activities. We have already discussed this earlier. I don't want to go through in detail, but in a way, like you see, for example, in case if you are driving, right? So imagine you are driving from Riyadh to Jeddah. Quality planning is mapping your route. Quality control is like checking your GPS periodically to make sure that you are on track. Quality improvement is when you realize that there is a better route and you adjust. I hope you got the point. But remember, once you go to Jeddah, you don't stop driving forever, right? Maybe you are going now you are going to now you are planning to go to Taif. The journey continues. That's why the CQI cycle is a circle and it's not a line with an endpoint. I hope you got the analogy. Okay. Now, look at this diagram carefully for a moment. Notice what's at the center of this wheel. There's quality, right? There's no performance, there's no profit, there's no compliance. Quality is the hub here, right? And from there, there's commitment, strategy, process, and performance. It's a beautiful metaphor for you to understand what I'm trying to say, that continuous quality improvement is never a project with a start and end date. It's a permanently rotating cycle, a sort of. Okay. So this is one thing which summarizes the CQI process. Okay. Now, when we start with commitment, there are two elements linked to commitment. That's compelling awareness and shared goals. What does it mean? So compelling awareness means that the people in organization, right from the CEO to the frontline nurse, genuinely understand why quality improvement matters. Not because they were told to care, but because there's a policy, but because they have a real sense of what poor quality costs, especially in healthcare, in terms of human suffering, in safety failures. There's a huge cost of poor quality, right? So think about how you build compelling awareness in healthcare. You share how do you build it? You share real patient stories. You present infection data not as numbers but as the names and faces. You show staff the broken process directly affects the patients, how the broken process affects the patient. Then when people feel the why, the commitment follows naturally. And along with that, there are shared goals. Shared goals are equally powerful. You see, quality is not just what do you say, the quality department's responsibility. In case if quality department, if the clinical team and administrative staff, everyone share the common goal, instead of having silo sort of targets and goals, if they all work towards one common goal, that's a sort of what do you say, multiplication, and that's where the commitment towards the betterment and quality comes into, right? In CQI, commitment must be visible, right? It should be visible from top and felt at the bottom. We have seen leaders who talk about quality but don't fund it, right? So they just do lip service, but real commitment means commitment of resources, time, and attention as well. Now, after the commitment comes strategy. All goals should anchor towards vision and mission. Okay, we'll discuss about vision and mission later on, but everything, every sort of quality improvement project that you take up should anchor back to vision and mission of your organization. For example, if a hospital's mission says to provide compassionate, equitable, evidence-based care to every patient we serve, now every CQI should be traceable back to that particular mission. Okay, if you start a project to reduce patient wait times, that connects directly to that particular vision. And if you're running a project to improve clinical documentation accuracy, that also connects directly to that mission. But in case, if you feel, like if your team is spending a month redesigning the staff canteen menu, then someone need to ask the strategy question: does this actually connect to your quality mission or not? Obviously not. So that's vain. That's not quality. Okay. Now, another sort of component is deliverable. Deliverables are all equally important because strategy without deliverable is just a sort of waste of time. It's just wishful thinking. Okay. Deliverables make strategy real. There should be time bound. All CQA efforts should be producing results in particular results in particular time frame. Okay. So see, achieving 95% accuracy of discharges within 6 months is one thing. Improving patient satisfaction scores in ED from 60 to 80 percentile within 1 year is fine. So these are all specific, time bound, and measurable. Okay. Now coming to the process, there are two components: process mapping and process analysis. So process mapping is visually documenting every step in the workflow, and it does what, when, and in what sequence, etc. And here's what happens almost every time a team maps a process for the first time. They discover that what they thought was happening is very different from what is actually happening. For process mapping, it's not what you know, it is what's happening on the ground. It's not what is written in the SOP, it's what actually is being implemented on the ground. Go to the ward, observe what the frontline staff is doing. That's process mapping, because you see workarounds happen, you see workarounds are existing, right? So there might be some steps being skipped, hands off being done differently by different people. There are bottlenecks. Only when you go to the field and observe the process, you can do proper process mapping. Okay. So next, process analysis is the next step, examining the mapped process with a critical eye. Now, observe for waste, look for variations, failures, and understand the underlying reasons why the process underperforms. That is root cause analysis. Okay. So in detail of all this, the details of all these things will be discussed in future chapters. I'm just keeping it short as of now. And the final stage is performance. Here, performance measures and management purposes. So performance measures are the indicators, metrics, data points, like clinical outcomes, patient safety, all indicators, etc., do come into play. Whereas management purpose reminds us that performance data has a dual role. First, it tells improvement team whether the project is working or not, and also it provides leadership with evidence on taking the decisions about resources, priorities, etc. So this is why good performance reporting is also important, right? Now, looking at the whole image together, you see CQA starts with commitment, then strategy is there, then the process, and then performance, and it goes on. It's a cycle and it's not linear. I mean, like, there's no endpoint for it. Now, we need to talk about the differences between quality assurance and total quality management. Okay. So, what is quality assurance? It's inspection based. Means you check whether work is done, and if it's done, to catch errors. You check work after it's done, right? And QA is reactive, means you respond to problems after they occur. And QA is department based, means usually the quality department is responsible for quality assurance. And it's compliance focus, means there are supposed to be meeting the minimum standards and avoiding bad outcomes. And QA is blame oriented also. When things go wrong, find who messed up and trash him. And then finally, it's statistical because it relies heavily on sampling and statistical quality control. So one thing which QA asks is, did we meet the standard or not? It's important. I mean, like, don't misunderstand. That's important. Compliance matters. Inspection matters, but QA alone has limitations. That's where TQM comes into play. TQM represents a shift in philosophy. What it includes is, it is prevention based. It builds quality into the processes so errors don't happen. Okay. In QA, it was after the error has happened. Here, they look for prevention of those errors. QA was reactive. Total quality management is proactive, means it anticipates and prevents problems before they occur. QA was department wise. TQM is organization wide, where everyone owns quality and it's everyone's job. Now, QA was compliance focused, whereas TQM is excellence focused, means quality improving, exceeding standards, and then it's learning oriented. When things go wrong, understand the system failure, learn and move forward. It's comprehensive also. It involves all the processes, all levels and all departments. In TQM, we ask, how can we do even better? Okay. For you to understand a quick sort of for you to simplify this, let's say, let's talk an example of medication error. I mean, like, see, in case of medication errors, the QA approach is like they will track the error rates monthly. When error occurs, they'll investigate, determine who's responsible for that. Then they provide a remedial education to that particular individual. They document for compliance reporting, and that's done. That's QA approach. But whereas TQM, they analyze the medication use process from prescribing to the administration. They identify system vulnerabilities like LASA drugs, order forms, and all the human factors involved. Redesign the system to make errors difficult or impossible, like introducing the barcode scanning, Tallman lettering for lookalike drugs. And then they engage frontline staff in redesign because they understand the real world process. They create the just culture where staff report near misses without fear, and they track errors, but also they will track near misses and close calls also. So there's a big difference. QA catches error, TQM prevents them. I hope you got the understanding of the difference between QA and TQM. See, for your exam, remember, whenever a question asks about quality management philosophy, the answer is usually about process improvement, prevention, and system thinking. And the answer is never about inspections and blame game. Remember this. Now, let's talk about value. This is a concept that has become increasingly central to healthcare quality because we are shifting more towards value-based care models. Okay. So what is value in healthcare? It's quality relative to cost of care or services. So here value is expressed as a ratio of value is equal to quality by cost. Here, it means you can increase your value by either improving quality while maintaining the cost, or maintaining quality while reducing the cost, or improving the quality while also reducing the cost. The third scenario is very much ideal. And you decrease the value by decreasing quality even if you reduce costs, and increasing cost without improving quality. So here value-based thinking forces us to consider both numerator and denominator together. Okay. There are different perspectives, customer perspective and provider perspective. So here, consumer perspective includes price, interpersonal interactions, and service quality. So what does that mean? From the patient's viewpoint, we see value like he thinks in terms of, am I getting better? Am I being treated well? Can I afford it? Was it convenient and all? A hospital might provide excellent care technically, but if they are rude to patients, if they make them wait for about 3 hours, if they charge twice what competitors charge, patient won't perceive that as valuable, right? Here, the patient might choose a slightly more expensive provider, even if they feel like they'll receive better communication and more thorough care, right? So value here is subjective from the consumer perspective. Now coming to provider perspective, here the focus is on delivering high quality care efficiently. Efficiently in the sense, for healthcare organization, value means achieving excellent clinical outcomes, ensuring positive patient experience, but doing so in a cost effective manner and sustaining financial viability. Okay, these are not contradictory. like, in fact, they are synergistic. High quality care often costs less than poor quality care because you avoid complications, you avoid readmissions and malpractice, etc. So that's value. Value should have better outcomes, better experience, lower costs. Then everyone wins, both the patients, providers, and payers. Now, we have already discussed in short, but here this concept of customers or consumers in healthcare may feel weird sometimes. We don't like to call patients as customers because healthcare is not a regular business. But from a quality management perspective, understanding who our customers is very much important. Okay. So customers can be internal or external customers, right? So internal customers are those performing work within the organization. So your internal customers are your colleagues, everyone working within the healthcare organization. They are customers because each one of them rely on each other to do their jobs, right? For example, the nurse is a customer of a pharmacy because they need medications delivered. The physician is a customer of the lab or the radiology because they need test results that are reliable and timely. Okay. And the surgeon is a customer in OR of the OR team and CSSD because they need equipment sterilized and ready. So when you think in this way, you start to see the quality is not just about patient, but it's about everyone. It's about every hands off, every interaction, every department, and the coordination between everyone, right? So see, if you improve processes for internal customers and if you make their work easier, if you make them more efficient and less frustrating, that usually improves outcomes for external customers as well. Remember one thing. Okay. Now, coming to external customers. So who are external customers? These are outside the organization receiving service from the organization, like patients, obviously, because they're receiving the care and they are ultimate judges of whether the service met their needs or not. And there are also families and friends because they will be along with the patient observing everything. And there will be payers like insurance companies. And then there will be reviewers, regulators, accrediting agencies like JCI, Sibahi, and then ministry. And then comes community as well, because the community in healthcare organization, the hospitals or the healthcare organizations are part of the community. They are about organization being a good neighbor, providing community benefits, and whether they are being accessible when they need or not, right? So this is regarding the types of customers. Okay. So remember, different customers have different needs and definitions of quality. Patients might prioritize compassionate care, and your payers or the insurance might prioritize cost effectiveness, and the regulators may prioritize safety and compliance. Your job in quality management is to balance all these needs. And when there's a conflict, say the most cost effective treatment isn't the most patient preferred treatment, you have to go through that very carefully and thoughtfully to balance things. That's where your experience as a quality practitioner comes in. Now, what is a service and what is a product? Is healthcare a service industry or a product industry or both? So, coming to the definition of what services are. Services are intangible, variable, perishable, and cannot be inventoried. See, primarily healthcare is service industry, but healthcare has a few unique characteristics. Healthcare is primarily service oriented with some products of some elements of products. Okay. What does intangible means? Intangible means you can't hold healthcare in your hand. You can't examine it before purchase. Patients trust that they'll receive quality care, but they can't evaluate it in a way like they examine a product. Like if they go to an iPhone or to buy some product, they can't examine healthcare in that way. Okay. And service is variable, means every patient encounter is different. Same procedure, different patients, different results. Same doctor, different days, different performance. There are controlling variations, and controlling variation is a central challenge for service quality. Now, service is perishable. You see, healthcare services can't be stored. If there's an empty slot of our MRI at 3 p.m., it can't be saved or used for the next day, right? Or unused operating room is lost forever. This creates pressure to use capacity even when it might not be appropriate. And it cannot be inventoried. Like it's related to perishability. You can't stockpile surgeries on demand, right? So just like how you stockpile products, you can't stockpile the services. They can't be inventoried. Now, the difference between service and products are tangible, measurable, and can be inventoried and counted. So where does healthcare stand? Healthcare is primarily service oriented with some product elements. Like, see, the challenge for quality is, or for applying quality management principle is, all these principles were actually developed for products and then adapted to services. Right? Manufacturing quality control works by standardizing inputs and then controlling the production process, inspecting outputs, rejecting the defects. But you can't really reject defects in healthcare. Here, every patient deserves care, and you can't standardize patients. They're all different. You can't control all the variables. So, healthcare quality management must adapt. Here, the focus on product process design rather than just on inspection. Here, you need to accept and manage variation rather than completely eliminate it. Okay, here the emphasis should be on recovery from errors, since prevention of errors is not 100% possible. Okay, here you need to train judgment and decision making and not just the technical skills. So that's the fundamental difference between other service industries and products and healthcare. Okay, now one of the most important frameworks in healthcare quality, you see, even if you remember nothing else from today's session, this is supposed to be remembered at any cost. See, this might come up in CPHQ exam. It's very much useful both for your exam as well as for your quality practice. You see, Donabedian model. Donabedian was a Lebanese American physician and researcher who developed this particular framework in 1960s. But even after so many years, for almost about 60 years, this still stands tall, and this is a dominant paradigm for assessing quality of care. That's how good it is. Okay, so this model has three components: structure, process, and outcome. And remember, here's the key: they are causally related, meaning structure influences the process and process influences outcome. It's a chain. Structure directly doesn't influence the outcome, but structure influences process, process influences the outcome. Now, let's see what structure is. Structure means conditions under which care is provided. So structure measures are like things that must be present to do the work. Okay, so here structure is your resources, your inputs, input, process, output, structure, process, outcome. Okay, I hope you got the point. Structure is your resources, your inputs, your capacity. It's everything that should be in place before the care is delivered. For example, all equipment like MRI, surgical instruments, hospital beds, ventilator, etc., all supplies like medications, bandages, and then your healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and then your facilities do come under the structure. Even working hours, like you see, the availability of the staff, accessibility, whether you're open for 24/7 or only during business hours, and medical records, availability of written protocols like policies and procedures, and whether any is there any emergency department or quality department, etc. All these come under the structures. Okay, structure is the easiest component to measure. You can count staff, C credentials, inventory equipment, right? Accreditation surveys primarily see the structures as well. So here, remember one thing, in healthcare, good structure doesn't guarantee good outcome, but poor structure almost certainly guarantees poor outcomes. For example, you can't do heart surgery without an OR. Like if there's no operation room, you can't do heart surgery. You can't dispense medications if you don't have pharmacy. You can't provide nursing care without nurses. As simple as that. Structure is what at all you have. Okay. Now coming to the second sort of component, that is process. In process, this is about how the healthcare is carried out. It's the clinical processes and care delivery process. Here, the process is the action. What people actually do with those all structural resources that they have. Here, example is documenting the patient information in the chart, that is recording, writing prescription, and then giving medications at the right dose, right time, right route, dispensing the medications by the pharmacist, and whether the staff is following or whether they are compliant to policies and procedures or not, whether the handoff between the shifts and between two professionals is happening or not. That is communication, assessment, clinical decision making. All these come under processes. Okay, processes is about how care is delivered and not what resources we have. See, you might have excellent structure, best equipment, most qualified staff, but if processes are poorly designed or poorly executed, outcomes will definitely suffer. For example, you see, if a hospital has a state-of-the-art cath lab, which comes under structure, and also have highly trained cardiologist, interventional cardiologist, which also come under structure, but their process for getting patients from emergency to the cath lab involving 5 different departments, 3 different forms, no clear coordinator, and if their door to balloon time is somewhere around 1.5 hours or above 1.5 hours, that is 150 minutes, then the standard then when the standard is around 1.5 hours, that's a process problem and not a structure problem. They do have everything, but the process is faulty, right? So structure affects process, but process affects the outcome. Okay. Now, what is outcome? Outcome is changes desirable or undesirable in individual and population that can be attributed to healthcare. Means the outcomes are results that come from completing the processes. So outcomes are the end results. What happens to the patient? Here, what are the outcomes? Morbidity rate, mortality rate, infection rate, readmission rate. What is the functional status of the patient, whether the patient is able to walk, care for themselves or not, did they return to work or not, and what is the patient satisfaction after the care, like how did they perceive their experience, what is quality of life for that particular patient. All this come under outcome, and outcomes are what we ultimately care about. The goal of healthcare is to make patient healthier, right? Now, remember again, all these 3 parts, all these 3 components are causally related. Means good structure leads to good process leads to good outcomes. If your structure is inadequate, if you don't have enough nurses, if you have broken equipment, your processes will be compromised. That will cause delays or workarounds happen, and then ultimately your outcomes will suffer. Poor satisfaction, complications, etc. Right? If your structure is good but your processes are bad, like staff is not trained properly or procedures are not being followed, outcomes will still suffer. Even with good structure and good process, outcomes might occasionally be poor because of factors beyond healthcare control, right? Because of patient characteristics, disease severity, random chance. This may happen. But on average, over many patients, good structure and good process lead to good outcome. Okay, I hope you got it. And this is one of the questions that you might come across in CPHQ. They will be talking about. They will be giving one indicator. They will be giving one component and asking as to which indicator is it, whether it is structural indicator or a process indicator or an outcome indicator. Okay, for you to understand the entire Donabedian framework, I'll try to simplify this concept. Let us take an example of preventing hospital-acquired pressure ulcers. Okay. Now, as far as the structure is concerned, alpha beds or pressure relieving mattresses on all beds are present. Skin assessment protocols are written and are available. Adequate nursing staff ratio is there. Wound care supplies are there. Education programs for nurses has happened. And then the structure is well present. Now, the nurses assess the skin on admission and every shift. Reposition happens every 2 hours. Use pressure relieving devices and document the assessments. And in case if they come across something, they escalate the concerns to concerned team. If all these processes are done, then the process is set. What's the outcome if at all everything is perfect? Hospital acquired pressure ulcer rate drops down. See, in a way like you need the structure, you need the process, and when both are present, outcomes improve. Okay, I hope you understood the relation between structure, process, and outcome. Okay. And we'll be discussing about structure, process, and outcome indicators more next week when we take up the quality basics cases and quiz. Okay. Now, you see, in departmental meetings or in the hospital meetings, we might hear like, okay, we need to improve patient satisfaction. Let's reduce turnaround time, etc. Yeah, we have all been in those meetings. But after a few months, what happened? Nothing changed, or even if it has changed, that was for only about 1 or 2 weeks, and then we went back to the normal. Do you know why? Because those were not KPIs. They were just wishes. Okay. What is a KPI? KPI is key performance indicator. It's not a wish. It's not a direction. It's not a good intention. KPI is precise. It's measurable, accountable, time bound. It's actually smart. SMART. KPI is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. What is specific? Specific means KPI should not have any ambiguity. It should answer clearly. What exactly are we measuring? Who is involved? Where is this happening? What are we trying to achieve? Like if say in a HICC meeting, if someone says we want to improve hand hygiene compliance, that's vague, right? What should be specific? We want to improve hand hygiene compliance among nursing staff in surgical ward. So here the difference is who, where, and what. Okay. Now, the challenge with vague KPI is like everyone can interpret it differently. But with specificity, you will get everyone thinking to the same target. Okay. Now it should be measurable. Specific is done. Now measurable. What is measurable? Some number has to be attached to the KPI. It should be a target, a metric, something you can quantify. Okay. So in a way, like it's like if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, or you can't improve it. Okay. So when a KPI is measurable, you know, in a way, like if you have data, if you can measure it, if your KPI is measurable, you will know what your baseline is. That is where you are today. You will also know what your target is, where you want to be. You know how far you have come. That is tracking progress. And you will see the trend, whether your intervention is working or not. Right? So in that same hand hygiene example, if someone says we want hand hygiene compliance to be better, that's not measurable. We want to increase hand hygiene compliance rate from current 70% to 90%. Now that's measurable because that can be put on the dashboard, that can be tracked weekly. There are numbers, right? In case if we are stuck and if our progress is not happening beyond 80%, we are going to investigate it. So that's the importance of measurability, right? So now coming to attainable, SM is done A. Attainable is also called as achievable. Means KPI represents a goal that is genuinely possible according to your current resources, capabilities, and context. Means, see, it should be well-intentioned, right? I mean, like it should not be too easy or too ambitious. For example, if I say, look, I have 70% hand hygiene compliance now, and within 12 months, I want to have 75%. See, that's too easy. 70 to 75% is too easy. Even with minimal effort, my team can achieve 75% within a month or so. Here, the target is not a meaningful change. No energy, no real improvement. But it should not be too ambitious as well. Like if I'll say like achieve 100% hand hygiene compliance within 1 month. Is that really sort of achievable? It's too ambitious, because within 1 month, coming from 70% to 100% may not be practically possible. If I give that particular target as a KPI for my department, they'll say that's not possible. We are setting them up for failure. Frustration comes in for the staff, right? That's the reason why we should be in the sweet spot. Attainable sweet spot should be there. Okay, if I say my target is 90% within 12 months, okay, that's absolutely fine. If in 12 months, if I get up to 85%, that's also attainable, right? Maybe in the next 3 to 4 months, I'm going for 90% again. Okay. Now, attainability also requires leadership support. Remember that, because it's all about the resources, authority, and organizational commitment also, right? Now, coming to R, SMA is done. R is relevant. Relevant means KPI actually matters. It should connect directly to what organization is trying to achieve, whether it's strategic objective or a mission or vision, and it should serve the right stakeholders, and it should be worth your time and energy. Right? So in a way, like even if the KPI is smart, measurable, and attainable, if it is not relevant, it's just useless. It's just a clutter. Okay. So in a way, like you see, for example, in case if I say a quality team is measuring average number of chairs present in patient room, they can make it specific, measurable, and attainable, and time bound also. But is it relevant? Is it relevant to patient safety? Probably not. So that's the facilities management issue, right? That's not a KPI for a quality department. That's not relevant to us. Now, see, if the percentage of patients who receive discharge education before leaving hospital, that's highly relevant. Because poor discharge education may lead to readmission, increased readmission rates, non-adherence to medications, etc., which might impact outcomes. Okay, so relevant KPIs should be there. Okay, now the final is time bound. Time bound is one of the most powerful of the 5, because time bound means KPI has a clear deadline. Why is it powerful? Because a goal without a deadline is just a dream. Without time frame, there is no urgency. Without urgency, there is no accountability. And without accountability, improvement simply doesn't happen. Okay. So if I say we will improve hand hygiene compliance from 70 to 90%, that's better than nothing. But when you say we will improve hand hygiene compliance from 70 to 90% by December 31st of this year, there's something that's coming in. Then a calendar comes in, milestone appears, review meetings now have purpose. We will track monthly data. Okay, now we'll see whether we are on track, whether are we ahead or are we falling behind. Okay, and time bound KPIs also help you do something important, that is celebrate success when you achieve it, right? Even if you reach up to 85% by the end of the 31st December, you will that's also valuable for you, because now you will investigate why that not have changed to 90% until the year end, and what are the changes that you are supposed to do. You will try to improve them, right? So this is what the KPI should be. See, a KPI should be smart, like specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time bound. For example, reduce central line associated bloodstream infection rates from 2.1 per 1,000 catheter days to below 1 per 1,000 catheter days within 6 months, measured monthly. This is a smart KPI. I hope you got the example. Now, before we move towards the conclusion of this session, I want to talk about integrated delivery systems, because IDS represents the modern approach to organizing healthcare that's specifically designed to improve quality. So what is IDS, integrated delivery system? It's a seamless delivery of all required levels of care. Means it's an integrated delivery system providing a continuum of services from prevention and primary care through ICUs or acute care to rehabilitation, long-term care in a very coordinated manner. So the key operational components of IDS are: there is a common database like shared EHR or EMR, and there is patient tracking across the settings, and provider profiling and performance measurements are there, and there is a unified reporting system, and coordinate care management is present. So the idea of integration breaks down the individualization or silos. Information flows, care is coordinated, and patients are provided with better quality of care. What are the advantages of integrated delivery system? You see, there is a improved coordination, better communication, and continuity of care. When all providers have access to the same patient record, we can see that what tests were done, what medications were prescribed, and what treatments were attempted. They make better decisions. Patients don't have to carry paper records, and the care transitions are smooth because every provider has the context of that particular patient, and a patient being discharged from hospital to home health is likely to have low medication errors because of proper follow-ups. Okay, and because the home health nurse sees exactly what has happened in the hospital, the better care is delivered. Okay, there's an improved coordination. There is also cost efficiency, like reduced duplication and improved resource allocation. So in independent and fragmented system, what happens is patients often get duplicate tests because no one will have access to the previous results. They will order the tests again, and when a patient sees multiple specialists, then there's a waste of resources, waste of time, and this integration reduces this duplication. If you've already had an MRI last month, there's no need to repeat it. If your surgeon today sees those results and doesn't order another one, there's a cost saving, right? Then integration also enables more efficient resource allocation. And finally, enhanced quality, standardized process, and shared best practices. You see, within an integrated system, if an organization has its own primary care, has its own acute care, has its own home care, what happens is quality improvement can happen at scale. If one organization discovers a better way to prevent some hospital-acquired infection, all hospitals in that particular system can adopt it. If we come up with a clinical pathway that can be standardized across all the organization, all the sites, right? So here the performance can be benchmarked internally and best practices spread faster. Now, for integrated delivery systems, there are two types of ideas, that is vertical integration and horizontal integration. Vertical integration is combining different levels of care. This means if you bring in together one organization, let's say Apollo Hospitals has the primary care, it has ICU and specialty care, hospital care, post-acute care, home care, all at different levels across the continuum of care, right? So here a patient can move from the clinic to a daycare clinic to the hospital ICU to rehab to home care, and all within the same integrated system. This is vertical sort of integration. What's the advantage? There's a seamless transition. Hospital knows patients getting follow-up care because it's within the same system, right? Now, what is horizontal integration? It's combining similar organizations or services providing same levels of care. This means when joining together organizations of the same level, like multiple hospital merging or primary care practices combining. Here, 3 community hospitals merge into one health system, etc. So what's the advantage in this? There's a standardization, shared resources, and best practices. It increases a sort of bargaining power with suppliers and payers. Here, there are no different levels of units, but all of the same level, horizontally integrated. Okay. So in exam, if at all you see like different levels of care, primary, specialty, hospital, post-acute, that's horizontal. If at all the integration is hospital, 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 or clinic, 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 then that's that's horizontal integration, whereas vertical is primary, specialty, hospital, and post-acute, right? So, and one thing, many large healthcare systems use both type of integrations. They have multiple hospital, horizontal, as well as vertical integration as well. Okay. So with that, we finish today's session, and I hope I was able to deliver what you were expecting. Thank you for bearing me for this long. Though it was exhaustive, it was really needed, because to lay the foundation of concepts before we move ahead in this particular course, it was very much important for us. And in next session, we'll be discussing the quality basic quiz and also the cases. And before that session, I want you to go through the handouts, prepare, and then attempt the quiz before the next session, and we'll discuss in detail. Thank you very much. And in case if you have any doubts or any sort of improvement sort of suggestions also, you are welcome. You can go through the messages in the chat box. You can join the WhatsApp groups. And for any sort of doubt clarification, I'm available there in the group. You can post your questions or doubts, and at appropriate time, whenever I'm available to clarify them, I'll revert back. So that's an open forum. Do not shy away from clarifying your doubts, whether however silly that may be. Take advantage of this experienced sort of instructors over there. Apart from me, there are two more instructors of CPHQ course available there. Someone or the other will try to address your concerns. I'm specially dealing with the English speaking course. Dr. Wissam will be there, both for Arabic as well as English. So that won't be a problem for you all. And your suggestions are very much welcome, because I don't want to bore you out in future sessions. I just want you to follow the basics and build upon these concepts. Kindly let me know whether I was fast or slow, or whether there's any change that is required within the style, and then I'll try to adopt. Thank you.